Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Damon Gonzalez from Latinbox Sports. Nice to be back this afternoon. Uh, Watching Top Rank last night. As you can see, we had boxing. It was really nice to have the fights. Without further ado, our special guest coming on the show, uh, Claudia Trejos. We're looking forward to speaking to her any minute. And we welcome Claudia to the show. Claudia, how are you
Hi,
today?
doing very well. Thank you for the invite. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you so much. I'll tell you what, there's definitely a few things that we would like to cover, and the first thing we want to ask is how are you and your family? I ask all my guests, how's everybody doing?
You know what? Surprisingly enough, this period of the pandemic and the lockdown has been quite enlightening. I think in our particular case, we've learned a lot about each other since we can't really go anywhere. Being
Yeah,
confined to very small quarters for a long period of time tends to bring out the best and sometimes the worst. And it's my daughter and myself. So and she's a teenager, so that comes with a whole lot of challenges that we've conquered accordingly. So I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned that the phone is not always your best friend. I've learned that even if you got the itch to go somewhere, you don't need to. So staying put has been a challenge for me in particular. But we're doing well. Health wise, we're great. And I cannot be more grateful.
I'm very happy to hear that, and happy
Yes.
belated birthday to your daughter.
Thank
She
you.
just
Thank you.
celebrated her birthday, correct?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. That's great news. Claudia, I mean, it's such an honor to have you on. You are definitely a trademark in the sport of boxing. But,
Oh, thank you.
I would kindly like to ask you, bravo, really, over 25 years, you've have so much history in sports with ESPN, with just so many things you've done. Um, Lighten us and share about your career, and just take a breath and reflect on all these wonderful accomplishments that you have made to get to this awesome point.
Oh, my friend, it's been a very interesting road. I never thought of sports journalism as a career. It was just something that I enjoyed, and it fell on my lap. We're talking about, yeah, over 25 years ago, back in
Yeah.
1990. Um, and I have a passion for sports, and I'm just a glorified fan. And I was asked to help as Prime Sports was becoming, as at the time was Prime Ticket, and it was becoming Prime Sports, and I was in that transition. Then Prime Sports became Fox Sports, and then we had the Hispanic side, and I was very blessed that I speak both, and I'm bicultural, so it was a great mesh. The fact that I enjoy boxing, diehard NBA fan, and a diehard Laker fan, it didn't come as a bad thing at the time that a lot of the Dodger players were also Hispanic. So
Yes.
I was also facilitating interviews. So I was helping in the production. And one thing led to another. And by 1995, 1996, I became the first female sports director at a very small channel at the time, KWHY, Channel 22, that later became part of Telemundo. So then
Yes.
I became part of the Telemundo family. And then I was sent to the network, and I've been here in Miami since 2002. I started as the sports anchor for El Rojo Vivo. Then I became an NBA analyst, the first female to do color commentating in Spanish in the NBA. And obviously, that led me into boxing, first female to do sideline reporting, and the list goes on. Then I became the first female to do play-by-play in boxing with Boxeo Tecate at Univision, and here I am. I'm now the ringside reporter for the Zone, and I did that for many, many years back at ESPN. And I consider we're such a small network that I've been blessed with great colleagues that have, from day one, accepted me and opened the doors, because none of that has come without challenges. And I've been privileged to work right next to amazing people that did not doubt at any given time to just say, "We got your back. What do you need? How can we help you?" And here I am, almost 30 years. Sounds like a
That's
long
awesome.
time.
That's awesome.
Sorry, we're getting a call now. I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay. Which leads me to ask you the next question in regards to the chemistry of the team in the zone. And I promise I'll be easy on Mr. Maddox. But let's just talk about that. I mean, what a great team with Sergio and just everybody
Mhm.
connected and involved. How awesome is it when the bell rings and you're in there doing your job and all the fighters are just extremely acceptive and they're just awesome when it comes to this package with the zone. You guys are doing a terrific job. Expand on that experience with the zone network.
Yeah, I'm getting chills because again, I go back to being very privileged and honored to work with fantastic people. The Zone team is a very particular one because I've met all of the members at different times in different capacities. So I'm going to start with Brian Kinney as our main play-by-play.
Yes.
Brian Kinney was the first one to actually do a show with me and Joe Tess when I brought in as a silent reporter a full Cuban amateur making their pro debut card, and it was here in Miami. And I did features on all of them, from the Bartelemis to the Regondeados to the Despines, and the fact that I had met these kids in the amateur world through the Olympic and the elimination process. So it made it very easy for me to, walk into the locker room and talk to them. And as we all know, that has always been a challenge. And it made it very easy for me. And Brian Kinney was the first one to say, "Oh my God, how do you pull that off? That was amazing." So it was really nice to have, one of the higher ups. We're talking Brian Kinney. He has
Sure.
a huge legacy at ESPN. So now we move on to Todd Grisham. Todd, the second play-by-play that we have, he came in from WWE and transferred into Friday Night Fights at ESPN. And I remember having chats with him and, just giving him pointers because, again, I come from the locker room. So it was a lot easier for me to jot notes and pass them down so he could have a bigger, brighter idea because I was on site. He was in Bristol. Now we go to one of my favorites, which is Sergio Mora. Sergio and I go way back to the Contender, and he was
Nice.
yes, he was
The snake.
represented by a dear friend of mine. Yes, the Snake, Rolando Arellano. They had a great relationship. Uh, but oddly enough, we had our differences. In one of his fights, I was the play-by-play, and from play-by-play, I would have to allow my color commentator to take over, so I would do the ringside interviews, and I will never forget. He was just not happy with the result. He took the loss in that fight. And, as a ringside reporter, you really have to be steadfast on what it is that you're asking, how you're asking it. And he just decided that he was going to interfere in the conversation that I was having with the winner. So I literally had to stop and say, "I'm sorry. I'm going to have to talk to Sergio because he won't let me finish this conversation." So I talked to Sergio. And then right before I sent back to my color commentator, I said, "But just for the record, you never ever take somebody else's time because that's disrespectful. Not under my watch. Not with my mic on hand." Obviously, he was taken aback by that, but I was steadfast because it's my position to maintain somewhat of a order in the ring.
Sure.
Long story short, we had our differences and we had many opportunities to, talk things through. And now that he's on this side as a commentator, he goes, "Oh my gosh, how could I have done that to you?" Like, yeah, it's tough. It's tough because you want to give every single fighter
Sure.
their due respect. But
Absolutely.
and there's so many emotions going on that things happen. And Chris Mannix is Chris Mannix. Obviously, I've read all his articles. He, I mean, the ability that he has to make very complicated things and simplify them, and for the regular fan, because that's what I am, just break it down or get deep into the subjects and give us a brighter, longer, deeper understanding of what really matters in sports. That's how I see Chris Mannix. But I'm privileged. I'm really honored. And our producers, they're fantastic. I mean, the Zone brought in a completely new business model behind boxing. And I've been fortunate enough to work with great people at Showtime, Fox, ESPN, The Zone, Univision, Telemundo, that it has only enriched not just my career, but me as a person.
Now I ask you, of course, Claudia, as a fan, as
Hmm.
you can see, legendary promoter Bob Arum has taken those
Yeah.
steps, and he has brung back the sport of boxing. It's such a just to know it's back. It's such a sense of relief. You know,
Yes.
what are your thoughts of the fights behind closed doors in this bubble concept, and what you're observing on your end looking from the outside, because you can see the broadcasters, they're also at home doing their commentating and what have you. What are your thoughts and ideas of the new norm, how we're seeing things?
The new norm, from the very beginning, once we started seeing that everything had to stop, obviously, we're
Yes.
talking February, March, once, the lockdown came down, I honestly saw that boxing could be an easy transition from the way we knew it to the new way.
Right.
Same as golf, and I'd say even tennis. Due to the nature of the sport itself, we're not talking about huge groups of people, and obviously the new norm with no audience, especially in boxing, takes a little bit away from it. It was interesting to me because I've had the chance to see boxing, on the ring side, in the ring, and obviously I've been watching boxing for 40 years.
Sure.
Um, it was funny to all of a sudden be able to hear all the commands, all the instructions
Yeah.
from the corner. We usually don't get to hear that. As a
How
fan,
about,
when you're at
how,
home, we don't.
how about those gloves? Whack, hearing the
Yeah. Oh
punches.
my gosh. Was it ever like we'll talk about that later, but yes, it's that somebody said to me, well, it just sounds like a bad sparring session. I said, well, there is no such thing as a bad sparring session. That's what sparring sessions are for you to get better. And second, that is the true nature of the sport. There is not one fighter that would tell you that they're either aggravated or influenced in any way by fans. Fans are just fans. They hear their adrenaline is in such a height that all they hear is that one voice they're used to. The
Right.
fans, they just kind of add to our environment as fans, as when we sit there and we hear the cheer. And um, I think it's the new norm, but I don't think it's going to be a permanent situation. I think it was a great adjustment to the environment. It's a great opportunity for fighters because we need to be aware that fighters can't just not fight for 6, 8 months, a year. There's very few and far in between that can actually stay away for a year or just fight twice a year.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Mayweathers, the Anthony Joshuas, the Canelo Alvarez's of the world. Those are very few, far in between. And let's add to the fact that every fighter comes with a trainer. What happens to those corner people? Not everybody is an Eddie Reynoso. Not everybody is those high-priced Abel Sanchez's, Joel Diaz's, the Manny Robleses that have had big paydays that can just sit in their laurels. And let's start with the nature of the beast. A
Yes.
fighter needs to fight. Just like a baseball player needs to play baseball, an NBA player needs to play basketball. It's the nature of the person. It's like taking away the claw from the cock. Once they go into a fight, that's it. They need that claw.
Yep.
So we have these fighters that are coming up the ranks that obviously are not making those high price purses. They need to fight. And the biggest enemy of every single athlete is inactivity. So you cannot just let them sit there and wait for the perfect opportunity with the perfect conditions in order for the sport to continue. So kudos, and I'm going to throw somebody here that is perhaps not of boxing, but kudos to Dana White. He
Yeah.
showed the way. He took the risks. He sat down with the different commissions in different states. There was a point that fights could have been started in California. Then Nevada came up. Now he wants to have that fight island. And that's kudos to him because he took a risk. And that
Absolutely.
showed somebody like Bob Arum, who's been around forever, that, what, there is a way. And, UFC has a little bit of an easier way because they do have the Apex and it's their own property and they can handle it. Bob Arum doesn't have that, but he does have the connections in the different hotels, and that's why we have the bubble now. So kudos to them for taking risks, taking the mandatory precautions for health, safety, and as frustrating as it can be to have sports without fans, I would take that any given day than no sports.
Absolutely.
Any given day.
Absolutely. Claudia, knowing you're on standby with everybody else in the crew and the team
Yes.
of the zone, the anticipation, knowing that you will be getting that phone call and the zone will be ringing the bell again. Give us your thoughts of going back to work.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm a single mother. I have a child. I understand the repercussions. I understand the risk, but I'm also very aware that no gain comes with no risk.
That's right.
And at this point in time, you know what? I try to put my daughter on a diet and have her eat once a day. She still refuses, but the economy needs it. My economy needs it. So there's two things. Just I mentioned fighters and trainers. As commentators, we need the business to start up again. Now, am I aware that there's a risk? Absolutely. Am I aware that it's not going to be as easy as it used to be to just touch somebody on the shoulder and say, hey, can I talk to you right now? This is what, no, it's not going to be like that.
Right.
There's going to be a change in the way we do business. We've already seen it. Bernie does a great job at, maintaining that social distancing. But let me tell you, you guys have no idea how difficult that is because we are so used to we have a one-on-one relationship. You know this. We go into the locker rooms. We have these conversations. We've created relationships for so long. In my book, this is my extended family as well. So it's going to be very difficult for me to go back and work and understand that I am not going to be able to give everybody a hug. I'm the type of person that once the fight is over, I usually go back to everybody's locker room, especially that person that took that loss, because that person needs to feel that, you have value and reassurance that you will come back. So that's what I do. I won't be able to do that anymore, at least in the near future.
Right, correct. Claudia, kindly, first of all, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. We
No,
really,
thank
really
you.
appreciate this. And
Thank you.
I would like you to please take this moment and give a really humble shout out to your millions of fans. There's so many people
Oh,
that adore
Lord.
you and respect you and look up to you, and you are definitely an
Thank you.
awesome individual. And
Thank you.
please take this moment and reach out to your fans and give a shout out to them. They really deserve to hear that from you.
To everybody that has been so kind, and I am humbled by everybody following me and supporting us. We're all in this together. We are, and I assure you that none of those notes that you guys write have been looked upon as or disregarded at all. I am flattered. Every single line has been read. And if I haven't had the chance to get back to you, it's because there's only 24 hours during the day. But by all means, thank you. Thank you for your support. And I promise you, we will get back bigger and better. We just have to remember that we are one. And this is not just affecting us, it's affecting the world. And boxing is just a very small reflection of what can be done. So let's come together. Let's remember that there's somebody upstairs that's going to be taking care of all of us. And thank you again. Thank you so much for all your support. And we will be back.
Thank you so much, Claudia. We appreciate you. We thank you, cariño, and
Cariño para ti.
we hope to have you back.
Por favor. Gracias. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day, okay?
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Thank you. Everybody, thank you so much for joining in the Slip Punches show. We appreciate you tuning in. We had a great interview with Gloria Trejos. It was so awesome. And we'll be back shortly with the Slip Punches show. Thank you so much. And have a great afternoon. Keep on punching.